So thank you for coming to this session. I've met some of you throughout the day and I hope you've had a good day. And this session really is talking to you about some current work that the NMC is doing and how it is there to support your practice. So the question is, why partnership? Why at this point in time? Well, it can't fail to have observed that in the key reports around maternity safety at the moment, and also what is talking about in the media, that women and families consistently say that they do not feel listened to or heard. And our standards, and when I talk about standards, I talk about all our standards, whether that be the code, standards of proficiency, the standards for pre-registration for midwives, that collective bundle of standards are very clear about the importance of listening and working in partnership. And that's with all the people who are receiving care in maternity services. And I've just cited a little bit just to remind you about the code. And it talks about listen to people and respond to their preferences and their concerns, so that you work in partnership with people to make sure you deliver care effectively, you recognise and respect the contribution that people can make to their own health and well-being, and you act in partnership with those receiving care, helping them to access relevant health and social care, information and support when they need it. And this is what our standards of proficiency say. It talks about using effective, authentic and meaningful communication skills and strategies with women, the newborn infant partners and families, as well as colleagues, as well as demonstrating the ability to always work in partnership with women, basing care on individual women's needs, views, preferences and decisions, and working to strengthen women's own capabilities to care for themselves and their newborn infant. And I've had some really interesting conversations today with folk where we're talking about women's decisions, that women's decisions aren't always in line with guidance. And I remind people that actually women don't have to follow guidance, but our role as midwives is to give them all the information they need, the pros and cons of the choices they're making, and then support them in that choice. And that sometimes can be very challenging to midwives because the women perhaps will be making decisions that you wouldn't think are advisable or are more risky, but it is their choice nonetheless. And we're very clear at the NMC about what you need to do to be supported and also work within that situation. So we thought long and hard really about our role at the NMC because, as you know, and you've heard us talk today, that our role at the NMC is to regulate the nurses, midwives on our register and the nursing associates in England. And we don't regulate maternity services, but we do respond when concerns are raised. But we wanted to so we recognise what our role is, but we wanted to do something much wider. And we importantly wanted to, because we've got a key role with protection of the public, to do something with women and families in this very, very difficult period of time, I would say, particularly in England, in terms of what is actually happening. So we came up with this campaign, and it's called For Every Pregnancy, and its aim is to empower women in their partnership with the midwives. So what we're saying is that we recognise that this is what midwives do, and midwives do it very well, but do women and families know that? And do they actually work with us in the way that's going to help that partnership? So we've got this campaign. We launched it back in sort of early July. And hopefully, if you look through your emails, you will have found some notification about that. And we particularly want women and families to understand what they can expect from midwives and how important midwives are to that journey. We also want them to really be aware of how they can work in partnership with us to reach informed decisions about their care. So it's not us making the decisions, but we're doing it together. And we know that every pregnancy is unique, and we know that midwives are there to answer questions and offer support. But do women and families know that? And we know that they're turning more and more, aren't we, to online resources, and they are good and they are very supportive, and we use them ourselves, don't we? But I think it's important that they don't underestimate what the midwife can do. And we also know that it is very important for midwives to listen to pregnant women and recognise and respect their feelings and choices. So, as I said, for every pregnancy, the aim is for women, their partners and families. We want them to know that we recognise that each pregnancy is unique. And it's thinking about that this is aimed at women across all the pregnancy and what the role of the midwifery team is there. We purposely not particularly talked about continuity because we know that is challenging in some areas, but the midwifery team is there to support them. We have developed 2 resources, and I had hoped to be able to show them to you, but when you get the slides, you'll be able to follow these links very easily. And the 2 resources are us talking about the role of the midwife and what the midwife can do on this journey. And what I would really encourage you to do, wherever you are, is talk to women about this, encourage them to look at it, because I think in this really challenging time, women do need to get that reassurance that we are there for them. We've had feedback from women, because we used it within some of the video clips, we used women who had used maternity services fairly recently. And one of the feedback was that the campaign makes it very clear that the options are there and it's you who can make the decision. And I think that is really key to get that message across to women so they don't feel that we are making them do things which they really wouldn't choose to do.
Let's talk about working with your midwives. Every pregnancy is different. It can be new and exciting, but there's a lot to take in. Everyone needs support along the way. Remember, you're sharing your journey and working in partnership with your midwives. Your NMC registered midwives are skilled professionals who'll be with you every step of the way. They'll get to know you and find out what's important to you and your family, like your physical, social, cultural, spiritual and mental health needs. Because you deserve a high standard of care, whatever your background. We want you to feel confident about working with your midwives. Did you know they follow our professional code every day? And they study and practice according to our midwifery standards, which are based on the best evidence and designed to promote kind, safe and effective care. Throughout your pregnancy, your midwives will answer any questions you may have and listen to your concerns. Together, you can make a personal care plan that focuses on your own unique needs and preferences for your pregnancy, and especially for the birth itself. Your midwives will also guide you through all the information that's out there about pregnancy, from planning your baby's arrival to what you can expect in the hours and days after you give birth. If you need someone to explain things in your own language, your midwife can arrange this too. The welfare of you and your baby matters more than anything. That's why only midwives and doctors can look after you during your labour and birth. But student midwives might be there too. This helps them learn how to care for women and babies. They need to do this before they can join our register of all the midwives who can work in the UK. If you or your baby need additional care, your midwives will be there with you. They'll work with other people in the maternity team to make sure you get up-to-date, timely information, support and care. For most women, this is a special, joyful occasion, but sometimes there's great sadness. Midwives are there to support you and your family, not only in the best of times, but also during the sad times. They'll show you the compassion, kindness and respect you deserve. Eventually, your health visitor and GP will take over your care. Your midwives will give them all the information they need. We hope you're feeling confident about the care you'll get during your pregnancy, birth, and with your newborn. Why not talk to your midwife about what you've seen in this video? It's a great way to start the conversation.
It also highlights to women what they need to do if they have concerns. Now, that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable to think, should we be encouraging women to do that? But I think if they are genuinely not getting that care and that partnership, we need to hear about it, don't we? We need to hear about it much sooner. And it's about thinking about how midwifery team is there to give safe, effective and kind care. Recognising that it's important that women can speak up if they're not happy about the care they are receiving. And if they really did have concerns, that they go around the right processes. And of course, in the first instance, it may be that they would need to talk to the midwife's employer if they've gone through other sort of mechanisms. And of course, I would hope as a last resort, they would come to us. And we do get concerns raised by women to the NMC. Doesn't necessarily mean that we would take that forward in terms of any process. A lot of the times, the concerns raised need to go back to the trust or the health board to have those and some of those concerns are often that they don't really understand what's happened and they haven't had proper communication and debriefing. And we have also a poster so that you can download the poster and put it up in your area so that you can actually show women. So again, just to reiterate, this is not to be punitive against midwives. This is trying to support you as midwives to give women confidence in the care that we're giving in these very difficult times. The other thing we have, and I know many of you have been to our stand, and hopefully if you picked up one of these leaflets, and this talks to you about this campaign, and you can, by using the QR code, you can actually access those direct. But we've also produced a dedicated page of real case studies of the women that we've been involved in this campaign. And Simone was one of those ladies. And she said, I always felt they were happy to see me, hear how things were going. I never felt like I was a burden. Additional to that, on the back of this leaflet, you'll see that we've produced a sort of more of a structured aid called CARE. And CARE stands for Compassion, Active Listening, Response and Effectiveness. And this was developed in conjunction with women. And the idea is it will give you an opportunity to use one of your reflections to use that model. And just to check out about perhaps a particular incident of care, and you to think about, how did I show compassion to that woman? How would she have known I was compassionate? Because I want to meet her personal needs and I want to build a partnership. How did I do that with that particular woman? And how did I actively listen? So I'm not thinking about necessarily what things that didn't go particularly well. Sometimes it's useful, isn't it, to reflect for your revalidation on things that went really well and were positive. And so these are just prompts for you to use in a slightly different way to perhaps you reflect to others, but it's in a way for you to recognise in yourself when you're giving, say, compassion or you're actively listening, so that you can make that commitment to do it. And we were very mindful, Verena and I, that we didn't want to suggest that any midwife is not compassionate and kind, because I believe the absolute majority are. So it's a positive tool for you almost to get that reassurance in yourself that you're doing a good job, or maybe there may need to be perhaps some changes that you make, particularly for some women. On top of that, next week we're holding a webinar. It's free to attend. Sign up at that page. It would be for 1 hour on the 20th of September from 5 till 6. And we're showcasing partnership with women. And those women are women who've supported the campaign, and we've invited them back to do the webinar. And what you will hear, and I hope it will cheer your heart in terms of those good stories, because we need good stories and we need to learn more from women about what is important. So I'm going to pause there, but very happy to take questions or comments about the campaign or anything else NMC-wise.